Every year, Startup Grind hosts our SG Women Leaders Month, proudly recognizing the accomplishments of successful women leaders all over the world. These women are founders, venture capitalists, engineers, executives, educators, and more who represent our community all around the world. This month's SG Women Month is proudly presented by Google for Startups and Silicon Valley Bank.
Thank you all for joining us today. I'm super excited because we have an amazing meetup in front of us, and I would like to start for the people that doesn't know who we are. So we are Startup Grind Rishon Lezion. Actually, you are part of the global Startup Grind community. We're active actually in more than 600 cities around the world, and we have more than 3 million community members in our global family, as I call it. Our core values are make friends, help others, and of course, give first. And I would like to say something in this meetup that is super relevant for these times. Startup Grind, the global Startup Grind, and of course, Startup Grind Rishon Lezion are stand against any racism. We accept every person, and we don't care what you believe in, what your sex, where you were born, or what your color is. We stand against any act of racism, and of course, we accept each and every one of you to join to our amazing community, our amazing family. And I'm more than happy that all of you are here with us today. As I said, we have amazing panel and comedian that will join us, actually here with us today. And our next guest is a very special guest that I would like to present. Her name is Irit Bauman. She will tell us about Orkanus and about female entrepreneurship, that this is what we're celebrating here today. Irit, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello, everyone.
Hi, hello. I will share the screen with your presentation. Just a second.
Thank you.
Just a second. I will start. Great. Irit, thank you for being here with us today. You can start.
Thank you, Noya. And I would like to say also thank you for Rami for choosing me to be the representative of Orkanos. So my name is Irit, and this is an exciting night, I feel, especially for us as women. But Orkanos is sponsoring this evening, and we do much activities in medical device products development, and we work with all kinds of big corporations like GE, AB Dental is where I'm working with Medtronic, G&G, etc. Especially, we are communicating with people that we meet that are in development, and over the years, we help them step by step in their first step, getting into the digital medical device. I personally come from this department. I'm a QA director and regulatory. Over the years, I just learned that Orkanos gives us a good solution because it's easier, it's smarter, it's faster, and it's efficient. So I would like to say with Orkanos first, see the connection, the strong connection as a teamwork that is necessary to do adaptation for new products and new solutions in a cloud system that is a platform of a digital that allows us as company to share difficulties in our process of work. And it is connected to all our standards and all our SOPs and regulation that we need. I personally work with Orkanos already 4 years. I can tell you that the achievement is very, very high because otherwise it saves us the time and it saves us money, and it is very easy and friendly. So if you have any question afterwards, I will happy to tell you my personal story or give you counseling with this. The problem that we see around the world is finding a solution that will be very, very easy. We as developers stand in front of many challenges, many times, that we have to take very difficult decisions. And in Orkanos, we find that we can make it very simple, less less complicated in the field of the medical device, and to give it to every personal in the system that we work as. It can give us and helps us to organize our organization in everything that is demanded now in the regulatory and the quality demands that is tightened every few years. The multiply projects that we are handling in one time ahead is very, very big, especially now around the coronavirus. I can only tell you that everybody that hasn't not a system that works on a cloud had difficulties in communicating between everything. Orkanos have given us and can give you too a very special solution in the cloud.
Just a
For who is
second.
new, yeah, you need to slide.
Yeah, just a second.
Okay.
One last slide.
Yeah,
Now two more.
yeah,
Two
yeah.
more slides. For who is new in this field, and and also for who is a little bit older in this field like me, this slide is very not new for the field, but exactly on these issues is the issues that we have the solution for, that is easy in the cloud of Orkanos to adapt them. The connection between the quality and the regulation and the engineering departments is smooth and needs to be connected. It cannot be apart. So you have traceability in your whole system. Is easy for everyone to adapt the system. Okay, Orkanos knows how to take new developers from the very first steps and bring them through a guideline of rules and games to find a solution for production, and allows the organization to handle every challenge almost on life. I personally can only add that the difficulty with Corona, I found no difficulty because I'm already 4 years in the system, and I could do everything even from home, like now, I'm also sitting at home, but I could go on with even against my notified body or any connection to the system for the people who work with me. The digital system gives us the ability to adapt from year to year, even for the quality management system, but also if you need to handle any change or kappa or development and design in a digital way, and a very simple one. I would like to thank you for the opportunity and for listening. I will be happy to answer any question, and I give you back, Noya, and have a good evening for all.
Thank you, Iri. Thank you very much. And thank you, of course, for amazing sponsors from Orkanos. Yes, Rami, would you like to add something?
Just that it's been a great honor for us to be part of this family. Very exciting, always again, to see all of you doing this great work for the entrepreneurs. It's extremely important. We exist in the market for 15 years, and we know what path you have to go through, and it's a great contribution you do here. So we're happy to be.
Thank you, and of course that we're happy that you're doing this journey with us to contribute to the entrepreneurs and to develop the ecosystem here in Israel, and of course to build bridges around the world. So again, thank you, and thank you, of course, Iri. And now I would like to invite a special guest. We don't start in the panel yet. I would like to invite Hagit Ginsburg. She's a comedian and entrepreneur that will tell us a little bit about the difficulties in our lives. Hagit?
Hi.
Hi, the stage is yours.
Thank you. What a lovely stage. Can you guys turn on your video camera so I can see faces and not just stare at like blank? Yeah, hi Ila. Yeah, don't be scared. It's not Tinder here, so you can feel safe. And I want to see your faces. This is actually my first Zoom performance. I managed to get away with not doing stand-up on Zoom for 3 years, and you guys broke me. So congrats on that. They're actually paying me so much money, so that's why I'm here. And yeah, I'm a comedian, and I guess I'm an entrepreneur, but you guys do like serious stuff, and you look like very serious people. I mean, once the corona started in Israel, I was completely unemployed. I have nothing to offer to the employment market or to the world. You know, I'm just a comedian, and I used to be a journalist, but I lost my job, so I'm still unemployed. So if any of you guys need someone to test for your, I don't know, startup companies, if anyone knows like a rich husband for me, that will also be great. So do we have people from other places than Israel? Because I'm speaking English and I'm feeling very international. Is anyone living outside of Israel here? You can raise your hand if you want. If anyone, yeah, someone's doing like this. So why are we talking in English? There's probably one person here that doesn't speak Hebrew. Shachar.
The idea is because people around the startup grind community. Startup grind community is a global community, and in Israel, it's very important for us to be part of the global community. And if we are record all the events, we want more entrepreneurs from India, Africa, Europe, Eastern Europe, to listen and learn from your jokes, because the jokes in Israel are totally different than in Europe.
I see. So, so we're doing this. No, I don't have a problem doing stand-up in English because it makes me feel like I'm a success story, which I'm not. As you all can see from my messy house in the background. So how is the corona for all of you guys? How was quarantine? Did you enjoy it? You can raise your hand if you enjoyed it. Shachar enjoyed it. Michal enjoyed it. Galit didn't enjoy it. Yeah, you look like a very serious woman, Galit. You're sitting in an office and you're all tidy up. Yeah, everyone. So I basically, once the coronavirus started, I only cared about one thing, and the one thing was not to gain any weight. And there's like a dietitian here in Israel. She's very famous. She's always on TV, and she kept saying that the average Israeli person will gain between 5 and 7 kilos during the corona time. And then when the corona started to end, she said that everyone gained like 1 kilo. So I'm basically the only one that gained 7 kilos and listened to the guidelines of the government. And I feel like I deserve some kind of a reward because I was, you know, I was listening to what they were saying. And I, I don't have any children. So basically, I really enjoyed being at my house for 3 months. It's only me, and I'm a single mom to a dog. So that was basically it. That's all I did. I watched tons of Netflix. Did you guys kept working while COVID was going on? Noya is saying, no, Noya needs a raise. Who's your boss? Show him. Tell me who.
I will send him straight to you. Just let him know that I need a raise.
Yeah. I can see the darkness in your eyes. Do you have children?
No, and you still see the darkness. That's a sad thing.
Winter is coming, Noya. I can see it. I can see it. Who here has children at home, like little children? You see?
No little.
Yeah, Irit, I didn't think you have like. First of all, Irit, your name is Rami.
Yeah,
you guys
I know.
Figure this out. Like there are two people named Rami Azulai on this Zoom chat, and it's very disturbing. Are you guys married?
And
No.
they're not the same sex.
You have what? Did you say sex? Did you say sex?
I said, and they are not from the same sex.
And so who's the real Rami Azulai? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
I think you guys have something to tell us. Very suspicious. So who has little children at home here? Little, like under 10. Galit, that's why you're sitting way far from the camera, so we can see the dark circles in your eyes. And Tal, you have like a baby girl, right? You just became a father.
Yep, that's true.
So that's why you're still optimistic and.
You see this?
No, I don't believe it. It's like from the.
Oh, you don't see this?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Because men are like. No, I'm sure you're like very tired and you're taking care of the baby, but what's your wife gonna say? Like if we had your wife on this chat, what she's gonna say?
You can ask her. She's actually online.
She's right here.
Where is she? Where is Tal's wife? You know, if she's not here, she's asleep. That's what she's doing because she has a newborn in the house.
Maybe.
So it's funny because all my friends, most of my friends have babies, and I'm so proud of them for not killing any of the babies during the Corona time. No one got divorced, which is pretty amazing, I think. Is anyone getting divorced here? I can see it in your smiles, you know, that you're getting divorced. So I don't need to guess. So I'm actually single, which is pretty interesting, like, you know, doing the whole coronavirus thing and being single, living on my own. I think, like, when I tell people that I'm single, first of all, they're not surprised, which is pretty insulting. They're all looking at me like, yeah, we can see that happening. And also, before the COVID-19, everyone was looking at me like I'm a burn victim every time I said that I'm single. Is anyone single here on this chat? No, you're all success story. Yeah, I get it. Okay. So they were all looking at me like with, you know, like feeling sorry for me. And now during the Corona time, I won life. Okay. I have my own apartment. I was living alone. I don't have any children. So I had the whole time to myself. And my friends that have children, they were calling me crying, wanting to kill themselves. And I don't understand how, you know, how they're saying that after the coronavirus, they're going to be like a ton of new babies. How do you say like a baby boom? Is that a word in English? Yeah. No, yeah, I trust you. I trust you. They say baby boom?
I think it's a word in English. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a term.
We didn't invent baby boom. Oh my God. So,
not yet.
So I don't understand how people are gonna do more, like have more children after spending time with them 24/7 in the house. Like, all of my friends told me that each of their husbands decided that they're gonna win the corona. You know, like a husband of a friend of mine, he has a restaurant, and he decided that he's gonna find a cure for coronavirus. And then he woke up one morning and he said, yogurt. That's the solution for the coronavirus. He's gonna do. Do you guys know what muesli is? Like when you put granola on top of a yogurt and you put like fruits and stuff. That's what he decided is gonna conquer the coronavirus. Muesli. Am I the only one that thinks that this? I don't need a man for that kind of stupid things. But anyway, so as I was saying before, my name is Chagit, which is a pretty awful name to have, especially when you're talking to people that don't live in Israel, because everyone in Israel they're familiar with this name, but people outside of Israel, they basically think that I'm from ISIS because it sounds like a terrorist name, and it doesn't really mean anything. And the tragic thing about it is that my parents that came to Israel from Argentina, they're the one that gave me this name, and they can't pronounce it. You pronounce it Chagit, and they pronounce it Hagit because they're Argentinian and they're stupid. And all of like my Argentinian family, like my relatives, they all came from Argentina and they have names like Adolfo, Marta, Graciela, Pascual. They all sound like villains from Disney movies, and they all gave us names that they can't pronounce. Like my little brother, his name is Yuval, and you pronounce it Yuval, and they pronounce it Yubal because they're stupid. And my parents are really funny because during the corona, when they finished quarantine and they allowed us to visit our families, I went to my dad's house and he waited in the door with a temperature like I don't know how you say it, like uh the thing you check temperature for, and he stood by the door and he waited for me with this, and then he checked my temperature and he said like, and I said, am I okay, can I come into your house, Dad? My parents are divorced, by the way. I'm not just like, I didn't kill my mom or anything. And he said, yeah, like your temperature is fine, but you gained weight. That's like Argentinian parents. Does anyone have like Argentinian family here or Latina family? Anyone here? Is anyone alive on this chat? You're all, it's so funny. It's like so bizarre doing stand up on, oh, someone did this, like high five. Maya, do you have Argentinian relatives? I don't know. She did something. What?
From Brazil.
Brazil. Ah, that's not the same. You're just sexy people. You're not stupid like Argentinians. Argentinians are basically like Polish people, but they can dance. You know, they have a rhythm. That's all. That's the whole difference. Like they're always like asking stupid questions. Like I told my dad recently that I want to become a vegan, and then he asked me if I can be a lesbian instead. Because for Argentinians to be vegan and not to eat meat is like he just want to disown me. Like it's he always asking me stupid questions. Um, and my mom, she's even worse. Like when I was, you know how in Israel we go to the army when we're 18. So when I was in the army, I had a boyfriend, and his name was Tommy, and he lived like really close to me, so he spent a lot of time in my house. And then after a few months of dating, he told me that his real name is Erez, which is also an Israeli name. And he actually changed his name from Erez to Tommy in his ID because I don't know, he was stupid. And then he asked me to call him Erez. He wanted to go back to his original name. And one time we went to my mom's house during the weekend, and I kept calling him Erez. And then she took me aside and she said, you know, Erez, he looks a lot like Tommy, which is basically those are the people that raised me. Um, so yeah, and it's really, I'm sorry, like it's super weird to do stand up on Zoom because you're all like muted, and I'm used to like standing in front of live people. They also don't laugh usually, but you know, at least they're alive. Um, and we're actually going back now to doing shows and stuff, which is really exciting. And so as I said, I'm a single woman, and I'm not young. I know you're all like looking at me and you're like, Hagit, you're 22 years old. What's the problem? But no, I actually just turned 38, which is a horrible number that I only want to see on my gene size. I don't want to see it in my ID, which is very bad. And every time I tell people that I'm like, you know, I have a lot going on for me. I'm a journalist. I'm a stand-up comedian. I have my own comedy line, which is female exclusive. And I'm an entrepreneur. I draw. I have a dog. I have tons of friends. So basically, I'm a failure in life. I failed. And it's funny because, you know, I'm very optimistic. I'm always like, it's going to be fine. You're going to meet him one day. You're going to meet that special person. And I'm like, I'm usually fine. And then I go to sleep and I wake up at around like 3 a.m. And I hear this whisper in my head. And it's like, it's going like, you're gonna die alone. I don't know if I can whisper on Zoom if you're gonna hear it, but the voices in my head are like, you're gonna die alone. You're gonna be alone forever. Let's go eat something. And you know, and it's very funny. And I decided to freeze my eggs a year ago, which is very expensive, and they don't have any coupons for it. Does anyone know how much it costs to freeze your eggs? Anyone want to guess? Shachar is on.
$15,000.
$15,000? Where do you freeze them? On Dolce and Gabbana? $15,000?
In the States, that's the price.
$15,000? Can I sell mine?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, and give them to someone? No, in Israel it costs like, I guess it's about $5,000. But then if you're 38 or 37 and you want to freeze your eggs, they're telling you, don't freeze your eggs, freeze embryos, because they have like better chances of becoming a baby and ruining your life. So they're telling you to freeze embryos, but you need sperm for embryos. And do you have any idea how much sperm costs? Anyone?
A dose is $700.
Again, in the US, $700?
A dose,
Wow.
yes.
Wow, it's very cheap.
From a donor. Yeah.
Usually in Israel, when I ask these questions on my shows, people like yell at me, 300 shekels, which is like, it's like $50, which is not true. And I keep asking them, like, do you buy your sperm in like Dollar Tree, or, you know, it's for us, it's Maxstock, like a very cheap Chinese store. So yeah, I froze my eggs, and when I went, you all deal with like medicine and stuff, right? Like you're all like medicine startups here in this conversation, yeah. So I'm very amazed by with how like technology and medicine are so innovated and like so amazing. Like when I went to see the doctor for the first time, I was waiting for him for 30 minutes, and the air conditioning was so cold that I really thought that I'm done with the process, that my eggs are frozen now. And I'm like so amazed by how amazing the technology and medicine is. So yeah, and I have 14 frozen eggs. Their name is Yoavi. They're in my freezer right now. I'm sending them up for basketball. And yeah, and I guess that's our time here in the Zoom. I have to say, it's a very weird experience. And you're all invited to an actual performance to see me live. I will give you tickets.
Thank you, Chagid. It was hilarious, and good luck with the frozen eggs. Thank you for that. I loved it, and I'm sure that all the participants here loved it as well. And
if you didn't, I will never see you again. So
this is our problem, basically. but we loved it, so I think that we will see each other. Thank
Good luck,
you,
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And I think that this is the time for our main event, our amazing women entrepreneurial panel. Natalie, the stage is yours.
Okay, great. So everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, thank you all for being here. And I would like to represent to you our amazing entrepreneurs. We have here with us Galit Zuckerman, founder and CEO of MadaSense Biometrics, with groundbreaking technology in objective assessment of pain response. We have here Hila Goldman Aslan, co-founder and CEO at Daya Imaging Analysis, a company that is revolutionizing ultrasound analysis. But last but not least, Michal Geva, founder and managing partner at Triventures. So we would like to start with like a general question about the times that we are enduring. How was your company affected by the coronavirus? Whoever wants to start.
Hila, you and me?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Start. We actually, Galit and I are neighbors. She's right across the street from my office. So we should do it.
I was polite not
I should come to your office for this.
Yeah. I was polite not to send a WhatsApp, let's have a beer after because we have free evenings.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will start. Can you hear me well? Yes? Okay, great. Okay, so usually the way to describe this period is very interesting, which is a word to say that there were good and bad and good, but overall I think it's eventually it's good. Obviously it's bad because we are, have a pandemic in the world, and here in Israel we somehow managed to get the first part. We don't know if it's the first part, if it's over, if it's going to be, but there is this unknown, and there is all this unknown. Unknown is a right definition for this period. So for us, going back to somewhere there, March, first I found myself before the lockdown, in 2 periods of quarantine. My husband came from Italy, quarantine. Husband with 3 young kids, he's in quarantine, he's having fun, I'm suffering. So that was how it started. And then I was, I don't know, stupid enough to think that everything is fine and I should have a vacation in Europe because it wasn't the countries, it was Eastern Europe. So I went there, come back, had no vacation, but again to quarantine. So this is how it started on a personal level. And then it came to Israel, the lockdown, and then everyone got stressed. And in a startup, most of the time you're in a round of financing. So in the middle of round of financing, and some things are signed, some things are partially signed, the world stops. Now, how do you manage a company when whatever you were planning is not going, you don't know if it's going to be as you planned? To make a long story short, the immediate response was survival. The second response after managing the first response was, let's look at it as an opportunity. So I don't know if if you're familiar with my company, but our company helps patients with managing their pain treatment. Not too much, not too little, just the right dose, the optimized pain treatment, the personalized and optimized. And specifically, we focus on patients that are not communicating. So until the COVID, we were focused on the operating room with some work in the ICU, but not selling to the ICU. When the COVID started, we realized that elective surgery are done, no market, but sadly, there are more and more people that go to the ICU and are ventilated and are sedated, and you need to treat their patient, the pain management, the pain medication. So from having as if no market to sell to, a whole new market open to us, and we found ourselves doing shifts in a Sharon hospital, which was COVID hospital. As the founder and CEO, I took the Saturday shift because we needed to learn how to help patients, COVID-19 patients, because we don't know exactly. We weren't like patients like this before. And to make a long story short, whatever we were planning into, I don't know, to the coming 2 years, we did it in a month. And this is something that for us became an opportunity, and we were very, very, very busy, and we're still in this period, and we are extremely excited to have, for us, the opportunity to help patients, to have COVID-19 patients around the world with our technology. So a whole, let's say, change of mood and very, very interesting period. So this is me. Hila? You're on mute, Hila.
I can very relate to what you're saying, and actually we have a very similar experience. And so yeah, we started, when this came along, it started at, I think, January, when we are doing AI software for ultrasound, helping physicians analyze ultrasound images. And we working with channel partners like GE and Konica Minolta and IBM, and also we have a few Chinese channel partners that we are working with. And in January, we started to hear there is an outbreak, something happened, and 2,000 infected, and our VP of sales which is working a lot with China and traveling to China, told me, and he had a ticket for February, and he told me, listen, something's happening in China. I'm not sure what's happening. And all of us in the company laughed at him. It was beginning of January. And we said, 2,000 Chinese is nothing. There are billions of people there. What is 2,000? What will happen? You are like a person that's scared of every disease. Don't worry, you will go. And until now, all the time that we're saying something about COVID, he say, you remember, I told you that that's going to be big. And then eventually he didn't travel there, of course, in February. And when it started, I think the point when we realized this is something serious, I think because every time we thought, okay, this is not going to get here, it's far away, it's in China. Then we started to hear about it a little bit in Europe, and then it came to Israel in a sense that we were in quarantine. I think even before it really hits us, it was few that was infected, and some say why we need to do that and so forth. And at the beginning, as Galit, you mentioned, we would say, okay, this is a big uncertainty. We plan a lot of things. Before that, in 2019, I traveled 14 or 15 times during that year, every month, every 3 weeks. Now, what are we going to do? We are used to go to conferences. We're used to, meeting our channel partners, our potential channel partners. What are we going to do now? What is the business? How do we work? What does it mean? And initially, it felt like we are going back 3-4 years ago. And maybe we should focus on development because the market, we cannot sell, we cannot market. And as you said, Galit, the same thing happened with us. Suddenly we got after 2-3 weeks indication that our AI solution for cardiac ultrasound is being sold like crazy through our channel partners like GE, for example, because their handheld ultrasound device is being served at a point of care ultrasound where COVID patients are being scanned, and our AI solution help those scanners, those point of care physicians, analyze the heart condition, and mainly because there is COVID-19 is affecting the heart dramatically, not only the lungs. As people think, like 50% of the people that die from COVID had heart issues. So be able to give them those indication where, one of the physicians we talked with said that you are getting into this environment with all the masks and the gloves, and usually it's one person that around you, you don't have anybody to consult with, you don't have anything to text with because you leave your phone outside, and to have that kind of AI solution with you at real time near the bedside, that's really helped them make decisions and the condition of the patient heart. So for us, it was like, wow, we are going to, something good happening during this COVID period, and also new opportunities with other vendors that are in the front line that needed our solution. And so that is, as Churchill said, don't let a good crisis go to waste. So I think this is our main activity these days, is trying to, adjust, as you mentioned, and look at where our products can have a real effect, and to focus on that.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? So very nice meeting you, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this great panel on a very, very interesting and important week or month. I think it's Women's Month, right? Natalie, you asked about where the COVID found us. So it found me in Asia, actually. Funny story is that I was in middle of January in Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, and Japan for a week. I felt like a swab. And my partner here in Israel sent me a little 3 sentences from the newspaper. And she said, "Did you hear there is a new disease in China? You heard about that?" And I said, "Nope." And that was it, right? I came back home, and a week after, the world have changed. So that was kind of where that found us and me personally. But it's definitely an interesting time, and I can relate to what Galit and Hila are talking about. The world have changed. I think in general, and I used to be in startups, and now I'm on the fund side, on the venture fund that I started about a decade ago. So I get to see a little bit kind of zoom out perspective. And I think in general, a lot of interesting things have happened on a macro level in general, and in the digital health in particular. Digital health is something that about 8-9 years ago, we were the first investors to start discussing it and talking about it, and people thought that we're literally crazy. I remember we had a conference in the Hilton about, maybe Hila, I can't remember if you were there or not, but that was a long time ago. And that was the first time we ever talked about digital health, and literally people thought that we are machinists. And then
they're early to the market. Yeah.
Right. And then the world have changed, but I have to say there's a lot of exciting, a lot of investment, a lot of startups. Here in Israel, we have about 600 different startups already in the digital health. But the hardest thing today in this space is integration into the market. It's hard to change healthcare organizations, regulators, legislators. And although the COVID didn't start anything in terms of the digital health, it certainly expedited this integration and shaved probably a decade of hard uphill battle integration. The providers, right? The healthcare providers, the nurses, the doctors. There is the patient, and there is the business models, right? The legislators and the regulators. All of those have to work together in order to push a business. And I think when hospitals like Hila and Galit said, you're shut down. All of a sudden, you can't go to see your doctor. You are pushed into the digital environment, and therefore, you know, people just have to act. So I remember I was talking a couple of weeks ago with neurologists to say I never thought I'm going to see people online, but now they can't come to me. They need my help. I'm doing it. And I realized that 80% of my patients I don't need to see. It's good enough just to do it on Zoom. The regulator have approved that. The legislator, the CMS, just in the last 3 months approved over 80 new codes for telemedicine and remote care. And all of a sudden, you know, you have the technology, you have the adoption from both the patient and the provider, and you have the business model that allows that. And therefore, I think that the digital health is in the perfect storm, really the perfect storm. Before the COVID, in December of 19, there was a big article talking about the digital health expanding and growing from a $90 billion market to over $500 billion in the next 5 years, 6-fold. I don't know a lot of industries that are projected to grow in that magnitude in such a short period of time. And I think the COVID have actually changed that even more and will expedite it. So I think that as much as it's hard, and it's hard for us as investors, it's hard for our startups. Some have gone up, some have gone down, but definitely it's a time of change. And if we're looking at a macro picture, I think COVID helped a lot to integrate a lot of the changes in healthcare.
So anyone wants to add anything about the general perception of innovation after the corona?
Yeah. So whatever what Michal said, we see it. It's like the fact that we are using Zoom, and the fact that Hagit was just doing a stand-up for the first time. She would have never done that. The same concept. And the same thing happened to the physicians and the purchase managers and the insurance managers and all of them, that they are more open. And so I think, especially in medical device where you have regulation and you always have the risk benefit. So you can have an interpretation whether to say, oh, it's very risky, something that can be risky, but to say this little thing can happen to my patient, so I'm not. Or you say, guys, the benefit and the world has changed, so I'm ready to take this little risk in order to create a world that is actually, you know, just bringing, as Michal mentioned, bringing physicians to see patients is much more risky than, let's say, cybersecurity that is well managed from the regulatory perspective. So we see the mind shift within the hospitals because of the people. And I think it's going, we hope that it will continue, that it's not just the hype and then it goes back, but it will put us in a new baseline of, let's say, acceptance of new technologies and the fact that they can be helpful, even if they need to change, let's say, the way, whatever they have been doing for 4 years.
I think also the advantage that I see during this period, and maybe Michal, you probably will agree, is that because people are not traveling, they have more time to have the conversation with you. They are more available, and it's hard for them to say that they are not, because everybody knows that you are at home. So to give you 30 minutes to talk with you, either as a customer or end users or one on your channel partners, you suddenly see more response in terms of engagement. So I think those, if you guys are looking at, I don't know, any kinds of business, probably people are more available these days.
You know, it's an interesting comment that you're making, Hila. Certainly, I think we're all enjoying a very, very different time. I'm a person that used to travel quite a bit. And all of a sudden you have this, you realize the buzz in the back of your head that is all of a sudden gone. And it's fabulous. I actually told my husband that I'm willing to give for another year all the travels for pleasure if I can stay home without business travel for another year. So that definitely is definitely a big, big difference. But you know, at the beginning of the COVID, we have over about 25 companies, so you kind of talk to each one and you're building strategies and everything. And one of the comments we heard is that people have much more time, right? Salespeople can talk more with pharma or with hospitals because they have time. And I was wondering if it's just people have more time, so they're more available. I wonder what would be the conversion rate? What would be their really ability to close deals? I don't know the answer for that yet, but I do think it does open very interesting opportunities. And I do see a lot of transactions. I do see investments. I do see deals are closing slower, harder. But we do see it, and it's encouraging.
I heard one investor that I talked with, and I asked them, you know, guys, in some of the cases, you say, okay, why should I waste time talking with investors? Because, you know, nobody is going to invest in a company they haven't met the founders. And, you know, little by little, our investors even started to invest over Zoom. You know, you call it investment over Zoom. And the feedback that I got from those that actually did that and actually did it like A to Z was that you are spending more time communicating on Zoom, with the video open, of course, than you haven't, if you done it like in a traditional way, how we call it, you will spend less hours with the founders and with the company. So you got to know the company much deeper because you did like, I don't know, 15 Zoom meetings. Otherwise, you met those founders in a regular situation, like 2 times, maybe 3 times, 4 top, like face to face. So I don't know if it will catch up and like other, probably, you know, Michal, you can say if you considering doing an investment over Zoom, like the whole process, but looks like it's starting to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the whole workforce kind of landscape is going to change. We had those debates inside our kind of team, and I don't know if we're going to do a whole process without meeting entrepreneurs, but I think you can do so much on Zoom that, you know, there's no need to wait. There's no need to not go and do the deep diligence. And at some point you're meeting, and instead of starting from baby steps, you're already in step number 15, and it expedites the process. We're actually decided right from the beginning not to stop. This crisis found us with 3 term sheets out, and we completed all 3 of them, and we have 3 more investments now in the queue. We're operating from 2 separate funds now, so we're busy. I still believe in a personal connection, but I think you can do 90% of the work and develop the relationships online. And then the world is small, and Israel is small, and we are meeting people, and not everything is on hold. So definitely, I think that there's a lot of opportunities, and you're right, less distraction.
I would like to continue and take it to another direction. First of all, we have a question from the audience for Hila. What part the quality takes as a major risks in the medical device investment, right? Rami? Okay.
So Rami, do you mean quality in terms of what? Quality can...
Well, quality means in terms of managing the process of getting your idea to the market. You have to go through the notified bodies. Now, usually what happens, we go to the investors and we show them ideas, right? PowerPoints, ideas, things that are not even there yet. So it turns out to be that quality becomes more major obstacle in the gateway to the market. So I'm just wondering how investors are, maybe Michal will be able to join this conversation as well.
Yeah, probably. So in our case, we didn't pursue investment at this stage, but during this COVID outbreak, but and also we already have the FDA approval and the CE mark, so that position us in a different and also the the quality system. And I think the challenge, or maybe we'll see, because we have a yearly audit from Europe, from the CE authorities, and it's going to be on Zoom next month. So that will be interesting to see how we will conduct it, which every year it was in person.
Well, I just can share with you that a client of ours was just doing yesterday a BSI audit remotely, and without bringing the auditor into their offices and having, with the Zoom, of course, but the fact that they don't have to really transfer paper in order to evidence quality. So quality becomes, like I say, it's time consuming. It's a big resource in your funding. So I just wonder if investors are looking at that, or interested in the efficiency of quality, or just in the innovation.
So I must say that I never got, in terms of digital health, maybe in medical devices different, experience from investors regarding the quality. They always assume that our quality system and our regulatory process is being conducted thoroughly and professionally. And once they saw also the notified body, audit, and see that we don't have sometimes nothing and maybe a comment and even maybe a minor something, they understood that we are conducting quality in a very high and professional way. But it was never like a big issue or almost any issue in terms of the discussion with the investor that maybe Michal, you feel they had different experience.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can tell you that we have a fund that it was important for us to work closely with the entrepreneurs and closely with the industry. So part of what we've done is we have a lot of investors that are strategics, companies like Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, Abbott, Boston Scientific, about 13 of those. And the reason I'm telling you that, you're going to like that, Rami, because in my first, in order to get those people to invest in a fund, you have to go all the way to the top, to the CEO. So I remember a meeting with the CEO of Abbott, and I'm telling him about innovation in Israel, and I get all excited, and you can sit on our shoulders and see we see today 700 different companies a year, yada, yada, right? And he tells me, but Michal, my concern is we like the innovation and everything is good, but then we want to do something with it, and there is no infrastructure. There is no quality assurance. There is no quality control. We need the cabinets. We need to make sure that what we're buying is stable, has the backbone, especially in medical devices. So I think that in investors, maybe they're not asking it, or maybe they're not putting a lot of emphasis on it, but certainly I think this is something that they keep in their mind. They look at, probably the certification, who is the notified body, etc. But definitely this is something that is coming up very often with strategics and during an M&A. We all have to pay attention to that.
I remember the same case that happened with Versamed. It was purchased by GE, and it took them a delay of 8 months because of the quality infrastructure. And I think for our audience today, that we have 30 people here that are really in their beginning of their way, these are the things that I would like to share with you that you should pay attention. You have this great idea. You need to consider, well, do I want to take it to USA, or do I want to take it to China, or do I want to take it to the European? And it used to be that the European were much easier to go with years before, and the USA was a high hand to go up with. And now things seem to be changing. So we need to pay attention, like you say, Michal, that keep it in bear in your mind. Quality is something that we need to leave enough space for it in our budget, in our strategic plans. And this is just a tip for the guys, the girls.
I want to comment, and then we'll probably move to the next topic. Everything at the right, let's say, dose at the right time. Investors at the beginning look for risk. QA, it's a resource, something that you need to do. Usually it's not a risk if you manage it well. So investor usually will look, will your idea work? Will you have a market? Will you be able to manage that? Only in later stages, you're actually more exposed to, will you, when you are in the market, that you won't lose that, you know, the regulation approval that you have because you didn't have the quality. Like Michal, it's for later stages. It's when like we're working with Medtronic. Yes, the QA is a major thing. Strategic, big companies, this is, you know, for them, if it's not, the quality is not assured, then there is a risk for them, you know, to get, it's a liability thing. But it's very important that at the beginning to put, you know, things in perspective. If you start with the full QA at the beginning, you don't invest. It's just like a stop to what
Definitely.
you do. So at the beginning you need to just pay attention, and later like invest the right amount, the right dose at the right, let's say, stage of your company or your commercialization.
Absolutely agree.
Talking about risk.
Continue. Okay.
If we're talking about risks here and things to pay attention during an innovation process, how many are here innovators in health tech? Or thinking to be innovators, have companies, or thinking, okay? So, you know, I agree with Galit, but only to some extent. You know, you're undusting, you know, my original roots. I was VP of clinical, of quality assurance, QA, and regulatory and clinical. So you have undusted now my roots. And I have to say that QA is something that has to go with the DNA of a company. Doing it after is very complex. And so I would encourage you to have it in the back of your mind from day one, but probably, you know, more important at the early stage, and I'll share with you what is my kind of area of interest when we're looking at companies. Technology, I'm sure, and I say to entrepreneurs, I assume you're going to do it. I trust you that you are good enough and you are smart. And if you're not good enough, you're going to have the right people to build the algorithm, to build the device, everything. That's great. Let's check, assuming you have it. The hardest thing today, as I said earlier, is integration into healthcare systems, integration into the market. One of the things that I think somebody that is thinking about innovation in this space needs to pay attention to is how to monetize. How do you build a business model, okay? And this is something that is important to really start out with, because sometimes we fall in love with our innovation and we fall in love with what we want to hear from the market, but unless your innovation is going to be able to show meaningful monetization, ability of somebody paying a real, you know, capital for that solution, that service, that technology, will be very, very hard to scale. So although it's a very hard exercise to do at the beginning, I would encourage everybody before spending time on quality, and actually before spending time on the R&D, sit down with yourself, surround yourself with smart people, understand the market you want to get into, and understand, reverse engineer, not the technology, but the business model. And once you figure that out, then you go and start building the product accordingly. That's my 2 cents here.
Thank you. We are going to start with our next topic, and our next topic is you guys. So we would love to learn more about each of your backgrounds, Where did you grow up? And what was, if this was your childhood dream to be an entrepreneur, to start your own company? Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay. So was it my childhood dream? Not really, but I kind of knew I would do it. I don't know, probably a lot of things you see from home. And my dad was a military guy, and then he became an entrepreneur and started his own business. But I took a while. I was working in the industry for about 15 years before I became an entrepreneur. So I was in startups. I started startups. I had a career here in Israel. At some point was asked to relocate to the Bay Area. And then about a decade ago, I actually decided to cross the lines and start Triventures. And it started tiny. It started, the first year was, I don't know what I'm going to do. Remember what I just said? Go and check and make sure that you have a market validation. I actually went and had this idea of building bridges between Israel and where the market is, taking advantages of the amazing opportunities here, but making sure that we are increasing our chances for success. And it was hard because I said I only knew the people from the startups, and was important for me to expand my network. And I'm a person of actions, and I need KPIs. So I decided I need to meet 2 new people every single day. Well, you know, sometimes you put your KPIs like really, really high. But I said I need to expand my network, and every person I went, I told them the story, and basically this is what I want to do. But I went to people. Remember, I was in a startup. I didn't know what it is, a fund. I didn't know anything about investing. And I went to investors and asked questions, and I said, you probably know this much, much better than me. So tell me, what am I missing? I really wanted to make sure that I learned from other people. I wasn't afraid to say I don't know, because I didn't know. And I think it's like entrepreneurship in a way is like a diamond. You have to continue and shine it all the time. With very, very smart people. Make sure that you remember that God made us with 2 ears and only 1 mouth, and that should be the ratio. We have to hear what the market is telling us instead of telling everybody how great we are. And I think that's somehow I did my baby steps. Today we're managing about $200 million in the fund, but the first close was on $3 million. I managed to shave and have people kind of agreed to invest. That was actually the first pitch I did was when Lehman Brothers fell in New York. I was such a rookie. I didn't understand what is happening. You know, like an entrepreneur, you're going and saying, okay, don't confuse me with facts. This is what I have to do. So we started very, very small. I was extremely fortunate to have partners that knew much better than me and really pushed me forward. And here we are again. So here we are now, and we have a very nice platform, I think, trying to help people not just invest in them, but you have to follow your passion. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Eli, you or me? Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Childhood. I didn't know the word entrepreneurship in my childhood. It's something that came later on. I didn't think even about engineering. My background is computer engineering. I didn't think that I would be an engineer when I was a child. I was playing the flute. I like science, but I didn't think that I would be a computer engineer. I think that the inflection point was in my Army service. When when I was in the 8200 unit and worked with engineers. And then I understand that this is what I want to do. And this led me to the high-tech field. I think that the fact that, you know, thinking about my own startup was only 5-6 years after I've been working. I worked in corporate. I was already, after the dot-com bubble exploded, everything, and then I actually saw my friends from my army time period having their startups and doing great things and influencing. So this is when I realized that I want to have an impact on the organization that I'm part of. And the way to do that is being part of the founding team, to create things, something that you believe that should be successful. And this is what led me to be an entrepreneur, joining few different groups of geeks like myself, trying to find different solutions. As you say, solution to a problem that we didn't know it exists, but there is a solution. And eventually, one of the technologies, one of the ideas was medicine. And then, long story short, wherever the other ideas and startups failed, the go no go, the market validation, the ideas, it didn't. And then, let's say, since that period, I founded the company, and then I can say since then I'm considered an entrepreneur. But it's a process, let's say it that way. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm here. So I don't remember I had as a child a dream to what would I do when I will be big, when I grow up. Mainly, I think I got my way to open and run a startup. It was mainly from, I think, two directions that mainly influences the way how I got to this startup even. The first one was the people around me, because as a woman, all of you know that women back then do not, and even now don't have a lot of women characters and leaders that they look for and said, I want to be this person. And that's, I think, improving and improved during the last few years, but maybe decades. But I didn't have like a role model that I say, I want to be like her. My role models was my mom in terms of women, my aunt, both of them have their own businesses. My father, of course, that has a business, like independent businesses, which all of them, I think every person that opened a business is taking big chances, the same as a startup. When you are taking the risk and the funding and all of that. So I think that was my first understanding, raising in a home that both of my parents and my aunt, and also my husband is having his own business, and his brother and sisters. All those people around me showed me that it's possible. So I think that was the first, my experience of saying, okay, that can be done. It can be done by women. So, okay, maybe I can do that. Second was that I started, my background is business and law. So I started as a lawyer, and my education is business school and law school, first and second degree. And I worked at the law office that only deals with startups, investment, IPOs, and stuff like that. And my mentor, actually, I was his right hand, and he got me into board meetings and IPO process. And at that point, I saw a startup. We were at the side of the startup and the side of the investors when we did the IPOs, when we did all kinds of that activity and legal activity, which is actually very similar. You are doing all the helping the startups and the investors create those businesses. And from that, I learned a lot about startups and businesses. And I looked at that and say, I can do that. I really can do that. And I'm really exciting about doing that more than being a lawyer. So I think that two directions is where I, got the idea of, okay, so I'm going to do that. This is what I want to do. So, and a long story short is when I met my partner, which we are initially 4 founders, 3 are women. 2 of us, myself and Michal, running the startup. We are full-time employee in the company and running DIA. So yeah, that was my journey to DIA. Actually, Galit and myself raised in the same incubator. Investor, by the way, initial investor.
Yeah, we're sister companies. Our companies are sisters.
Companies, yeah.
It's very interesting. So we would like to know what was the most challenging thing you had to do as an entrepreneur?
Wow. I think every day is a challenge. And I think that every day in a startup, something is keeping you from sleeping good. I think that every day, I can tell you from my experience, and sometimes it's the outbreak, and sometimes it's a very big, a commercial deal that you're dying to sign up with, and sometimes it's an employee that you are, wanting to join the company, or R&D that is getting late, and every time is something else in a startup, and it's really difficult to point to, one thing. And I think that the secret and the resilience that we as founders cope with is that we know how to manage with pressure and uncertainties, which really typically this is the definition of a startup, I think. And with the roller coaster of a startup, which if you cannot put your hands up when you going down the roller coaster, this is not the place that you should be in. This is my message, please.
Yeah, I think the definition of if you ask what is challenge, what is the challenging in being like, what's the challenge being an entrepreneur? It's the definition. It's being an entrepreneur is a challenge. Every time, actually, it's not just the uncertainty. It's most of the time you do things for the first time. Whatever experience you had from whatever you came, you have all the time. You face new new things that you need to deal with, especially with a company that is growing from an idea to commercialization to the market. Every year there was something new, and every year you need to learn something and to execute, and you need to be successful in that. So and as a founder, it's like the company is you and you and the company in a certain way. So you cannot be not successful, and you need to learn fast. So I think also entrepreneur is learning fast and learning and knowing that you don't know, we will never know everything. So you really need to adapt, and you need to learn, and you need to find people who complete you and to work together. But expect every time that whenever you feel that, okay, I'm in a good position right now, everything is working, there will be a new challenge. And this is what Hila said. Every day, there is not a dull moment. This is what there are 2 things that we say. There is not a dull moment, and we say it in the leadership meeting. You cannot pay for such an entertainment. So this is I think,
interesting.
And this
going
is a
to be
startup.
interesting.
That's true. Everybody's talking about the roller coaster, and it's definitely, it's there. By the way, there is no major difference between a startup and an investor in that way, because those are organs that are linked. One is focused on one thing, others are kind of a hub or an umbrella of a lot, but the success of startups is the success of the investors and vice versa. I think the most challenging thing is actually to continue the process and believe in yourself. You know, how many people back in 2010 when I started it, or 2009 when I started invest in fundraising, you know how many people told me, Michal, you know, maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe, you know, the difference between, in Hebrew we say tzalash and tarash, the higher degree or the complete failure is just that small. You know, you haven't done that. Maybe you should try do this first before you jump and do that other thing. And it's things that we hear all the time. The question is, do we let those things take a bigger part, or do we manage to manage them and say, okay, I'm going to wake up this morning, it's going to be challenging, I'm going to get hit here and I'm going to get hit there, and I have to be creative and I have to invent myself as an entrepreneur, as my company. But the world is tough out there. And it's tough, and it's not only tough because we're entrepreneurs or because we're women, because the world is tough, it's competitive, it's fast, you have to change, you have to adapt, and you have to be on pace, right? And sometimes we women are waiting for the assurance of others to say to us, well, you know, you're good enough, you are great, you can do that. And when you are a leader, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to tell that to yourself. So I remember a very high executive in one of the tech companies gave an advice one day, and she said, you know, every single morning when you drink your coffee, kind of take a teaspoon of self-confidence. Make sure that that's one of the things you do every day, and just believe in yourself and keep on pushing forward, because it's so easy to get tired and get distracted and let go. And this is where I think we have to all push ourselves. And I think this is something we're doing, each one here is doing for themselves. And one of the nice things that I'm seeing, and I haven't seen it when I started doing this back a decade ago, I do see it today. There is more and more circles of entrepreneurs, circles of leaders, women, female entrepreneurs that are like a support group. And I wasn't a big believer in that. I never went to forums like that. I didn't think very highly of those kind of activities. But I learned from experience that if you surround yourself with the right people, and I think women have different managerial skill sets. We operate different, we think different. So having more people kind of like yourself that could do the support and the push is important. And there's more than ever today. There's still a lot to go and a lot of things that we can still improve in. But I think there's a lot of circles that can be helpful today. So I encourage us all to be more united and do more things together, and remind ourselves that it is possible, and it is. Look at Bilal, look at Galit. I'm sure there's other people on this panel that are leaders in their space, and it's possible.
So we have another question in regards to the aspects of the entrepreneurial experience as a woman. Do you think that there are differences? And what are the aspects in the medical field specifically?
So is there a difference between male and female?
Male and female, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I'll just say a few words. I think that there is, like I said earlier, I think that there is a different, women manage differently. I think we saw it nicely in the COVID now. Head of states There was a very nice article and analysis when the prime minister was a woman versus a man. I just think we're wired differently. It doesn't mean that we're better or worse. We're different. We have to take advantage of what we're different in and excel in it, right? And use it when it makes sense. And I do think that managerial skill set and areas such as working more collaborative. I think it's a little bit easier for us to put the ego aside and work collaborative. So this is something I think is helpful, and it has results. I don't know if it answered your question, Etzelie, but that's my perspective.
I think that the fact that we're still minority and women entrepreneurs, let's say in the high tech or the medical, the women entrepreneurs are still minority, means that as a minority, we have more, let's say the barriers are higher. So it's not adapted to the minority, it's more adapted to the majority, which are men. And one element that the women, or the minority in this case, shouldn't be afraid to do the steps because they are minority. They just, yes, probably there will be a little bit, not a little bit, sometimes it's more than a little bit, higher barriers. You know, investment. Michal is minority in terms of women investor. Most of the VCs, either they are fully, like most of them are men, or at least the majority of the general partners are men. So when I come and raise money from a VC, probably I will sit in front of men-dominated investors. And I'm, as Michal said, I'm a woman. Probably I'm a little bit thinking differently. I didn't think at the beginning, but I realized through the process that, as Michal said, we're a little bit different than, not a little bit, we are women and we're not men. So we act differently, we talk differently, we think a little bit differently, and sometimes it's difficult for investors to see, you know, to invest in something that is different from you. So with that regard, yes, it's a little bit more difficult. And this is where, by the way, we discussed, Michal mentioned that we, as women entrepreneurs and women founder and women CEOs, try to help each other and to have a network that helps, you know, because we are not part of a network of the men. Again, currently it's improving, it's changing, but it's still there. And then there are also a little bit your personal background. Most of us at a certain time we are mothers. So even if we have very supporting spouse, person, husband, still somehow we are expected to be more with our kids. We were raised this way that we want to be sometimes more with our kids. So yes, and sometimes it's more difficult. So this is similar for senior positions, people who travel, is for women in general. But you need to know that this is, don't be afraid of it. It's part of the process, and there might be, it's part of life. If you really want to be an entrepreneur, just embrace that this is who you are. This is the path that you have chosen. There will be easier things, but there will be more difficult barriers through the way of being a woman entrepreneur. But otherwise, I think, as we said, for entrepreneurs, it's a challenge for men and women. So just embrace it and enjoy the way.
Thank you, Galit. And unfortunately, we're almost running out of time. And I would like to thank you, Galit, Hila, and Michal, and of course to Irit and Rami, our sponsor, Chagit, and of course Natalie that moderates this amazing panel. I am always so inspired to see strong, independent women, and it was amazing to hear your stories and your tips and all the journey that you've been through. And thank you all for being here with us today and take part in this panel. And of course, I hope to see you all in our next event. Hopefully it will be offline, but I hope to see you soon. And thank you. And I'm happy that you're joining us. Goodbye. And
and if you need any help,
thank you for having us.
We'll be happy to help.
Good luck to everybody.
Thank you.